Welcome to Yelling at Trees, where we yell at trees. It sounds a little bit like this sometimes. Ah! Get off my lawn! Yeah, you know, I mean, we don't always do that, but we do that. I mean,
it's a thing.
You guys have trees, like where you come from, that are like annoying and shouldn't be where they are?
I think we have quite a few trees like that in our driveway.
I can't speak on that. I don't ever think about the trees.
Oh, you're going to think about them now.
We've driven over them quite a few times.
Oh. So the house I used to live in with my mother and my stepfather had a sweet gum tree in the front yard. I don't know if you know what a sweet gum tree is. It's a beautiful tree. Big, pretty leaves, turns bright orange and bright red in the autumn. But it drops these seeds that are about, twice the size of a quarter and spiky. And, like, they're dangerous. So, like, when they drop and they're green, they're soft. But then they harden, and I cannot walk in that yard barefoot because...
He drops a ton of them.
Ow. And literally, there are thousands of them. They're everywhere. And, like, I would rake them up, and the next day, there's just as many on the ground.
So going outside or sneaking out at night made it very difficult.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to casually leave the house. Yeah. I'm like, that was with flip-flops on. But yeah. So I want to apologize to the people that are listening. The 3D printer is obviously running in the background. It
all the time.
It feels to me like dental work. like you can hear it like resonating in your head. Yeah, it's rough.
I don't go to the dentist, so I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I am unfamiliar with the thing you have just said.
No frame of reference.
What is this thing you call dentistry?
Yeah. It's where a person who failed at being a doctor does things to your mouth.
No comment.
Like, you know what would be great if your teeth were more or less? We could do that. Dentists, they're crazy. Yeah. But, okay, so we got some new people with us tonight that you may have noticed if you're listening. Let's go around the circle and introduce ourselves. I am Adam. It means dirt in Hebrew. It's an exciting thing about me. It doesn't have anything to do with my personality because I don't really have one. So, yeah. And you are?
Nick.
Ah.
Do I have to say my last name?
No, just tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Nick, and my last name is Forche.
Nice. That really does expand a lot.
My social security number is...
No, don't tell them that. I mean, it's probably okay. They would need your mother's maiden name and the birth date to really do any damage. But, yeah, no, that may come up casually in conversation later. Let's not go there.
Yeah, I'll save that.
It is tax time.
I'll write it down to you on a napkin.
Wait, you mean if I say this into the podcast, someone might pay my taxes? Yeah, people trying to defraud the government to get an income tax return in my name are going to find out very quickly that they owe student loans and the government wants all of it. Mm. Yeah.
I am Ryan. I'm Nick's brother. I'm not going to share my security stuff with you, but I just play music and I'm an audio student, so I take a look at everything I can possibly and try to mess it up as much as possible.
Nice. And you don't have to say your last name because if people are able to deduce things, they would know it already.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, on that note, my last name is definitely not Forche.
I changed my answer. Is it too late to change my mind?
Okay, I'm Captain America then.
Right. Me too.
Okay, Steve.
And I also play music.
Oh, my name is Corey, and I am Adam's younger brother, and I do lots of stuff.
What does Corey mean? Do you know?
I have no clue.
Because I would guess, if I weren't, like, knowing how your name was spelled, that it means, like, to dig up rocks.
I'd take that.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
I dig rock. Yeah. Exactly. That was a real moment. I'm glad that we got to share that.
I don't know. A long time ago, like when I was fairly small, I read in some baby book, because, you know, every baby book has different meanings for names and stuff.
As a young 3-year-old, Corey was reading baby name books.
Yes, I was. I was very advanced for my age. But I don't know. For some reason, it got stuck in my head that I read that Corey meant the chosen one or something like that, or it may have been from one of my dreams. I don't know. But
this may be a delusion.
No.
That's what I had always told myself.
No.
Corey, the chosen.
No, that
am
was
the
one
chosen
of his dreams in life, is to be the chosen one.
Oh.
That's what he means.
So, like, you're talking about, like, Dodgeball or Messiah?
Yes.
Like
All of
they
the
picked
above.
me. I am the chosen one. Finally, I get to throw red balls at people.
No longer am I the last one picked.
No
Good times.
longer.
No longer. Never again. I mean, that would really depend on your performance, probably, wouldn't it? But yeah. So we've been talking about all sorts of crazy stuff today. My favorite music is from the 90s. Like what they would call 90s alternative music, which was really 90s pop music, but there was already 90s pop music that didn't sound anything like it. So they had to come up with a new thing, and they called it a pop alternative, which meant that even though it was the alternative, there were enough people listening to it that it was just popular music, but it sounded so much different. But it came out of, before that there was punk music, and before that there was grunge music, and before that there was like rock music and hair bands and stuff like that. And so like one of these things evolved into the other and so on, and it finally became 90s alternative music, and then somehow that became what is often referred to as butt rock. And there was never anything good after that. So 90s alternative somehow became Metallica. Like literally overnight. And it's crazy because there's bands that are in the same genre, like Pearl Jam. Mm-hmm. And you listen to Pearl Jam and you're like, oh yeah, hey, that's a neat thing they did there. And then you listen to Metallica, and other than the guitar player only playing classical music on his instrument, which the average person that likes that music has no idea that that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. It was, and that's it. That's all the music. And that's the whole genre of bands. There's like hundreds of bands out there that make exactly that same music. There's no real melody. There's no real tone. There's no storytelling or anything really exciting happening in the music. There's no shifts in dynamic. It's just the whole time. And that the I would call it the grunting. Grunting. Yeah. But see, like grunge music had this weird lazy guitar thing going on. Mm-hmm. And so like instrumentally it was super simple, but it didn't depend on just speed. Mm-hmm. Like that the butt rock genre, the hard rock genre was all about speed. Mm-hmm. Like with the rare exceptions where they had what they would consider a ballad, but is still like super hard music. Not hard in how hard it was to play, but hard in how hard they played it. Yeah.
Like slapping the bass.
Yeah. Except for the bass player typically didn't know what he was doing at all.
We just mix him out later. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, okay, so these are the guys that played their bass through distortion pedals. Mm-hmm. You might as well just stand up on stage and say, I don't understand how this instrument works. Like, you know, it would be
all use distortion at the same time.
You know what would be better than hearing the notes that I'm playing? For a minute, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, just basically controlled feedback instead of a note.
Hey guys, I think I got an idea.
See, what if instead of singing, we just got up and went?
Sounds good.
That was pretty metal.
Yeah, that's Korn, right? That's straight out of a song.
See, when I did it, and I plugged into a distortion pedal with a bass, I didn't know what I was doing, and that was accidental, so I never tried that again. But it just seemed a lot of those players just
thought it was an amp.
Just thought, why not try it and see if it works? And it's like, probably wasn't a good idea initially.
Good times.
But yeah, a lot of that music was very, very different in the way that it was progressed, and just all these bands that had different approaches to it, and like looking at I say like and it's not a band I think that's well known, but as a supergroup, but it's from bands like Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog, that they had maybe 1 or 2 albums and it worked really, really well. Yeah,
and it was lead singers from 2 already successful bands at the time.
Yeah, and then you got this layering of harmony and guitars and drums that are really tight, and it just such dynamics to it.
And the 2 singers that comprised the vocals of that band were very talented singers, and they were doing some crazy harmonies and playing off of each other that you wouldn't be able to do with just a regular band probably.
Yeah, it's like if we tried to do Chris Cornell vocals, I would be throwing my voice out every time because I'm trying to sound like a dying cat, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. Nice. Yeah, music, it's the thing that we...
Kitty at my foot and I want to touch it.
Kitty at my foot and I
Great
wanna
transition,
touch
guys.
it. Yeah. It is. Science.
Music.
Oh, wait. Everybody, take a deep breath. By the way, if you are listening to this podcast, it is because of Anchor.fm. Anchor is a free app in the App Store for any mobile device. There's also an app on the computer and a web interface, and it lets you record your podcast right there on that device. You don't have to use sophisticated Pro Tools or Logic or a mixer board or any of that fun stuff. You just hit a button and you talk about what you want to talk about.
I like it.
I like it too. It's really exciting because you can make a podcast and it distributes it to 12 or 15 different podcast services all at once on their end. You don't actually have to go submit it to iTunes or something like that.
That is super convenient.
It is super convenient. It's great. And you can do sponsorships, so you can do little promotional commercial type stuff, and then they give you some money.
Yeah.
Which money is nice. It gets things and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Highlights. Free app. Easy distribution. Instantly record.
Done.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Good job, guys. Man, I mean, no offense. I have really bad gas today. I didn't want anybody to get hurt.
I think I've got the black lung pop.
Man.
The funny thing about that is that his cough in that movie is most of what Michael Jackson does in his music. It's
Oh my gosh, he does, doesn't he?
maybe Michael Jackson was a coal miner.
That's how his... No, but you would think his skin did the reversal of what a coal miner would happen. What would happen with his skin?
Yeah.
It went whiter.
Yeah, he was a coal miner, and now he's not. So it was cleaning off over... No. I may have crossed 5 or 6
being
lines.
down in the mines in the dark all the
2021,
time.
guys.
His skin was
Yeah,
lighting up because
he got kind of paler because of the not
No
being
sun,
exposed
yeah.
to sunlight. Yeah, no, that tracks. I get
we
it.
need to be writing the documentaries.
Yeah. True story. You heard it first here on Yelling at Trees. Sorry, I just noticed that the caps lock was on that keyboard, and I couldn't do anything until I turned it off.
No cap.
No caps. About to bust the caps. Oh, lock. Sorry. So, I know that I don't have any kids, but I am at the age where all of my jokes are dad jokes.
Yes.
Which is, fun on the radio, I guess, but in real life makes me undesirable to women. It's like, you're so funny. I will never have any interest in you. I get that. I actually get that a lot. It makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be interested in me either, because I'm rather manly.
Our dad, who's almost 50, has gotten to the point where he does not realize all the jokes he makes are dad jokes in a way, because he laughs at all of them.
Does he make jokes about mowing the lawn often?
No, he has us mow the lawn. He hasn't touched it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't. What would be a joke that he would make?
I don't know. This is bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would know if we weren't recording right now.
You're like,
but
I'm not able to recall bad jokes.
The Boy Who Cried podcast.
It's like, oh man, if we weren't recording, I'd know the answer
Wait,
to that.
that actually sounds like a podcast name. This is the Boy Who Cried podcast.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Like, the podcasts are
Better than
coming.
Highways and Hedges, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Highways,
shots
hedges,
fired.
ferns.
Yeah.
That goes out to you guys who know that name.
Yeah. So Ryan is sometimes on other podcasts, right?
No, I have not been on this podcast. I have this
Anything's
Christian
fun.
organization that I help at my college. My friends in it run this podcast, and they kind of just talk about ministering and running churches and, like, you know, out in the country. Or
Oh gosh,
in
is
other
this a bad
states.
pun? Is this not like roads, but like highways?
I guess I don't know.
Hedge of protection.
It probably, when they came up with the idea, they thought it was sounding good in their head. But, you know, they get together, they talk about, you know.
When it was highways and hedges, I'm like, oh, like traveling and like gardening or something. Maybe that's cool.
Well-
and now that it's a bad pun to begin with, no, I can't get behind that.
See, Joe Bridgman had just come back from ministering in Scotland for 2 years, and
They do have hedges.
what's funny is he's a big rugby fan, so for him being in Scotland was like a dream for rugby, because that was his whole thing. You know, I don't remember a time where he didn't talk about rugby.
I also enjoy punching people in the mud.
Yeah, he
Sport.
I think, like, that was an excitement for him, besides, you know, obviously wanting to minister to people about Jesus. But you know, he came back and it was reminded how important, like, small towns are in ministering, because I think a lot of people get left behind in those towns.
Like the book series.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they mail order it from Amazon.
yeah,
Rough.
yeah. But yeah, they talk about these little tidbits and just kind of come up with their segments. You know, I have yet to be asked on the podcast, which I should probably talk about him too.
Yeah, you should totally talk about him.
Yeah,
Like,
We should both go on his
listen.
podcast.
I would be interested in that.
Yeah, I like to talk about hedges.
I like to question him about the name choice.
Yeah, so what's that all about?
It's not a podcast, it's an interrogation.
It's true, it is.
Where were you when you created this podcast?
Like, where were you on the night of November 3rd? This year or last year? You ruined it. It was supposed to be intense, and now it's technical, and I have to check my date book. Which I don't have, because it's not the early 2000s or before that.
I was gonna say, what is a date book?
In a calendar?
Calendar?
It's called
Pocket
it's called many
calendar?
things. It's called a pocket calendar, or I think a mimeopad or something like that. At one point is what it was called, or a day planner, or a
Calendar?
Date book. Wow.
It's not portfolio. It's something like that with a C. Any idea? Not calendar.
collage. I don't know.
A collage where you take pieces of magazines and you put them together in a notebook, and then you write Thursday go fishing or something like that on it. Yeah.
Friday, go figure.
Oh, and it's sometimes called an agenda. Agenda, depending on Spanish or English. Do you have an agenda?
No.
All right, me neither. If you were to take your day planner and put it under the bed, you would have a hidden agenda. That's a dad joke.
I think there's a video game called that.
AKA a manifesto.
There's a video game called Hidden Agenda.
Oh yeah, and it's the shortest game you could ever play.
You turn it on and it said, "Sucker, you paid for this." That's it. Game over.
It's basically what it was. It's just terrible, terrible, terrible.
I like video games that I instantly win. I have no issue with that.
What
You know,
was
like Zelda.
what was the game we looked over yesterday that we hadn't played in a while?
Well, we didn't play it. We
we
watched
watched
some
it.
cutscenes. You know the Spider-Man 1 video game?
From the early 2000s.
So by one, you mean like Spider-Man?
The first Spider-Man
Okay,
movie.
gotcha.
It's
Yes.
based off of the first Spider-Man
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Oh, based off the movie.
I
Yeah.
played
Yeah,
that
yeah.
game on PlayStation
Yep.
many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And you hit buttons, and it went.
Yeah. Yeah, you do hit buttons, and then you move these sticks, and then you shoot webs.
Yeah, and maybe you hit like you punched a rhinoceros or something at some point. I don't remember.
That was...
I think that was
not-
the second
not that
game.
No,
Yeah. But in this game, there's so many weird quips that we didn't realize were there before.
Quips.
like of Spider-Man making fun of the bad guys.
Well, that, and there's in one of your missions, you have to rescue a bystander because this thing is about to fall on him, and he does not even notice it because he's on a cell phone.
He's on the phone, and it shows him. It's like he's like Godspeed, Spider-Man, and then but it cuts to the civilian after he shoots. It's shocker. He shoots something at this big banister or whatever.
Yeah,
and then the the guy's on the phone like, yeah. So we meet at 10, right? And then it falls, and he's just like,
you can hear the meaningless dialogue in the game.
Yeah, the
Oh,
meaningless
it's one of
dialogue.
the best parts of Spider-Man games.
Oh my gosh!
yeah, I can talk
It's
to
like,
him.
how does he not notice that he's about to die? And then I realize, okay, video game does not
Oh
compute.
yeah. Well, I mean, look, so like my favorite thing about Spider-Man, this is a good point with these cutscenes, is that Spider-Man is like snarky.
Yep.
Like he makes fun
Yeah.
of people casually while he's
Yeah.
doing his thing, and that's when they made the Spider-Man movies in the early 2000s and 90s. That was what was missing. Tobey Maguire is not snarky,
Nope.
and when he like became the bad Spider-Man, he was just really cheesy instead of being like actually mean with the same tone that he would have before when he was jokingly mean, right? But the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, which wasn't, in my opinion, great movies or great storytelling, he nailed
Oh, yeah.
the snarkiness of Spider-Man's character. It was the rest of the character that didn't work because he was cool.
Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
Spider-Man was never cool. Peter Parker is a nerd. Like, here I am. I'm a skateboarder, and I'm an underwear model, and like beautiful women just walk up to me and want to know me. Like, nope, that's not Spider-Man.
Nope.
Who read this comic book? The answer is nobody. Nobody read the comic book. They made
They
two
bought a script off
and
of
were
somebody.
ready to make a third movie with this guy who actually figured out how to be Spider-Man but could not be Peter Parker. Like, it's disappointing.
oh man.
But I think the guy that they got now, other than him also being ridiculously attractive, super frustrating.
Tell me about it.
Because yeah, I mean, like now I gotta measure up to that, like get like a foot shorter and lose 100 pounds and gain 75 pounds of muscle.
And
Pass.
gain a British accent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then lose it. Yeah, to gain it and then lose it.
The only way to have a real convincing American accent in a movie is to have a British accent underneath it. That's the way it works.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. I mean, literally our accent came from England.
Yeah.
They kicked us out, and we decided we were going to talk different.
Yeah,
Like-
it always made me wonder how that transition got handled. It's like,
oh, yeah?
okay, guys, we're not going to talk like the Brits anymore, so we should just talk a different way.
Like, oh yeah, screw you, England. We're going to say about. Wait, what?
oh man.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna drive our cars on the other side of the road. We're gonna run our horse races backwards. Take that, Britain. Look, if you brought a horse from England that was like a racehorse and then raced him in a race here, he'd probably be really confused. He's like, wait, no, this isn't the right. What's happening? Why are you doing this to me? Like running around the corner into the crowd. He's turning the wrong way. He's not an ambi-turner.
Oh, jeez. No, I think I'm basically a nerd by heart. So, I own up to that. I'm.
Yeah, no, I mean,
total
we're
nerd.
all nerds or we
Oh,
wouldn't be
yeah.
on a podcast.
True story.
I mean, everyone's a nerd about at least like one or two things, right?
Right.
He's a nerd about a lot of things, like movies, music, cartoons.
Cartoons is a big thing.
What else?
Right.
I'm forgetting a few.
So, I mean, like, my stepdad is a nerd about football statistics. So, like, yeah, you're right. Everybody's nerd about something.
He's a Bible nerd. He's a God nerd. He really is.
No, yeah, no, I like those things. God's cool.
Yeah, I
Nobody smites enemies like the Lord.
I
Or
just
his own people.
Yeah, that too.
I've just always kind of been a studious guy, you know, and like when I did come to the faith and I studied the Bible, it just was, stories were just so interesting, really strange when you read them the first time.
Right.
But the more I dived into it, the more it just, you know, kind of opened up my eyes about a lot of things. But it was also just like looking at these characters, you know, there's so many of them, yet they all have this one thing that correlates them all. It's, you know, God's doing that, bringing everything together. And like, you know, one of my favorite characters is Daniel in the book of Daniel. And, you know, this guy's uprooted from his home. He's in a strange land, yet he's willing to follow God through all of the things that he's going through, even to the fact that he's thrown in a freaking lion's pit,
Right.
that he's about to be eaten. You know, he's like, well, if God wants me to survive, I'll survive.
Like, and aside from like the faith in God part of that story, you've basically like just gone over a summary of what all 90s alternative songs are about, which is where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We've come full circle.
but yeah. So I mean, let's talk about that more in the next podcast because that's a fun topic, and we don't really get into that very often because our stuff is usually mostly jokes, but you know, whatever. It's fun. But that's all the time we've got for this particular podcast. So we'll see you next time. This has been Yelling at Trees, where on occasion we yell at trees, like so. You don't belong here.
You stink.